Something washed up on a Spanish beach in 2023, and honestly the photos still mess with me a little. A giant oarfish, almost 18 feet long, silver and ribbon like something that shouldn't exist above a certain depth. And the thing is, it wasn't alone that year. These sightings were happening back to back, different coastlines, different creatures, same disturbing pattern. Have you ever stopped and asked why something that lives thousands of feet underwater is suddenly showing up where we swim? That question is what pulled me into this, and I genuinely didn't expect where it would lead. The Atlantic Ocean is shifting. Not metaphorically, not in some slow geological sense that takes a million years, right now, measurably, in our lifetime. The currents that have kept this ocean behaving predictably for centuries are weakening. The AMOC, which stands for Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation, is the ocean's main conveyor belt. It moves warm water north, cold water south, keeps temperatures regulated, keeps the deep zones cold and pressurized and dark the way they need to be. Scientists have been tracking it losing strength for years now, and the data is genuinely unsettling. And here's the part nobody really explained loudly enough: when that conveyor slows down, the thermal layers of the ocean start mixing in ways they're not supposed to. Now think about what lives in the deep. We're talking creatures adapted over millions of years to complete darkness, near freezing temperatures, and pressure so intense it would crush a human body in seconds. The anglerfish. The vampire squid. Oarfish. Frilled sharks that look like they belong in a prehistoric painting. These animals don't come up because they don't need to, and because the conditions down there are exactly what their biology requires. The deep ocean is their locked room and temperature is the lock. When the lock starts breaking, things come up. And honestly, that alone should tell you everything about how serious this current disruption actually is, because these creatures aren't choosing to surface for fun. They're being displaced. The thermal boundaries they rely on are shifting upward, and they're following the conditions their bodies understand, not realizing those conditions are moving into the wrong zone. Between 2020 and 2024 there were documented strandings and surface sightings of deep-sea species at a frequency that marine biologists themselves called unusual. Oarfish in California, frilled sharks off Portugal, goblin sharks near Florida. Each one individually gets a news story, a couple of photos, then everyone moves on. Nobody was connecting the dots publicly in a way that stuck. The warning was there in the data, just distributed across dozens of separate reports that never got stitched together into one clear picture. Scientists at institutions like NOAA and several European oceanographic centers flagged the AMOC weakening as a critical threshold issue as far back as 2018. Some models at the time suggested it could reach a tipping point within decades. More recent research pushed that estimate closer. The creatures surfacing aren't a coincidence sitting next to that data, they're a physical symptom of it. What bothers me most is how quietly this got absorbed into the background noise. When a species that lives 2,000 meters down starts showing up in coastal waters, that's not a quirky nature story. That's the ocean reorganizing itself in a way that disrupts every layer of the food chain simultaneously. The deep sea produces and cycles nutrients that eventually reach surface ecosystems. Fisheries depend on those cycles. Weather patterns over the Atlantic are influenced by those temperature differentials. When the deep warms even slightly, the ripple effect moves upward through every system connected to it. And we're only seeing the visible part, the creatures big enough to photograph on a beach. What's happening at the microbial level in those shifting deep zones is something researchers are still trying to fully map. I'm not saying this to scare anyone. I genuinely don't think doom is the useful takeaway here. But ignorance definitely isn't either. The Atlantic isn't broken yet, but it's telling us something through these animals that keep washing ashore, through water temperature records being broken year after year, through currents that have been stable for centuries starting to wobble. The ocean doesn't panic. It just shifts. Slowly, quietly, and then all at once, and the creatures coming to the surface are the most honest signal we have that the shift is already happening. The question is whether we're actually listening this time.